Kyle Morrison sat in the back row of his advanced physics class, tapping his pen against his notebook. The lecture was about quantum mechanics, something he usually found interesting. But today he could not focus. His eyes kept drifting to the new student sitting 3 rows ahead. Her name was Lyra Chen. She had joined the class 2 weeks ago, right in the middle of the semester. That was strange by itself. Most students did not transfer into advanced courses halfway through. But there was something else about her that bothered Kyle, something he could not quite explain. Professor Hayes was explaining a complex theory about particle entanglement. Lyra raised her hand and answered a question. Her response was perfect. Too perfect. She mentioned research papers that had not been published yet. Kyle knew this because he had seen those same papers on his professor's desk just yesterday, marked as confidential drafts. How did she know about them? After class ended, Kyle packed his bag slowly. He watched Lyra talk to another student near the door. Something about her movement seemed off. She was too precise, too calculated. When she smiled, it looked almost rehearsed, like she had practiced it in a mirror. When someone bumped into her accidentally, her reaction came a split second too late, as if she had to think about how to respond. Kyle's best friend Danny caught up with him in the hallway. Danny was a computer science major with messy hair and an endless supply of bad jokes. "You're staring at her again," Danny said, grinning. "Just ask her out already." "It's not like that," Kyle replied. "There's something weird about her." "Yeah, she's way too smart for you," Danny laughed. Kyle shook his head. He could not explain what he felt. It was like looking at a photograph that seemed normal at first, but the longer you looked, the more wrong it appeared. Lyra was that photograph. That afternoon, Kyle met his other friend Lisa at the campus coffee shop. Lisa was studying biology and had a sharp eye for details. Kyle told her about his concerns regarding Lyra. Lisa sipped her coffee and frowned. Maybe she's just really smart. Or maybe she read those papers somewhere online. "They're not online," Kyle insisted. "They're unpublished. And it's not just that. Watch her sometime. Really watch her. She doesn't move like a normal person." Lisa gave him a worried look. "Kyle, you sound paranoid. Maybe you should just leave it alone," but Kyle could not leave it alone. Over the next few days, he paid closer attention to Lyra. He noticed she never ate lunch. She never checked her phone. She never seemed tired even during early morning classes. Once, he saw her solve a complex equation on the board in seconds, something that should have taken several minutes even for a genius. On Friday afternoon, Kyle decided to follow her. He knew it was wrong. He knew his friends would tell him to stop. But his curiosity was too strong. He had to know what her deal was. When class ended, Lyra left the building and walked toward the east side of campus. Kyle followed at a distance, trying to look casual. She did not head toward the student housing area or the parking lots. Instead, she walked toward the old industrial district beyond campus. Kyle's heart started beating faster. The industrial district was mostly abandoned. A few old warehouses stood there waiting to be torn down. No students ever went there. It was not safe. Lyra walked with complete confidence, never looking around or checking if anyone was following. She moved like someone who knew exactly where she was going. Kyle hung back, hiding behind corners and old equipment. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the broken pavement. Finally, Lyra stopped in front of a large warehouse. The building looked ancient, with rusted metal walls and broken windows. But something about it felt wrong to Kyle. He pulled out his phone and opened an app he had modified to detect electromagnetic fields. His engineering hobby had taught him how to build custom sensors. The readings on his phone went crazy. The warehouse was putting out massive amounts of electromagnetic energy, far more than any normal building should. The patterns were strange too, organized and purposeful. This was not random electrical noise. This was technology. Kyle watched from behind a pile of old crates as Lyra approached a section of the warehouse wall. She stood there for a moment, perfectly still. Then something incredible happened. The wall started to shimmer, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. It turned liquid, rippling like water. Lyra walked through it and disappeared. Kyle's hands started shaking. What he had just seen was impossible. Walls did not turn into liquid. People did not walk through solid metal. His mind raced, trying to find a rational explanation. A hologram? Some kind of projection? But his sensors were still going crazy. This was real technology, not a trick. He had to see more. Moving carefully, Kyle crept closer to the warehouse. Through the broken windows high up on the wall, he could see light inside. Not normal light. It was blue and white, pulsing in patterns. He could hear a faint humming sound, like machinery running at a frequency just at the edge of human hearing. Kyle found a stack of old pallets near the wall and climbed up carefully. His heart pounded so hard he thought it might burst. When he reached the window and looked inside, his entire understanding of reality shattered. The interior of the warehouse was nothing like the exterior suggested. Instead of an empty, abandoned space, it was filled with technology beyond anything Kyle had ever seen. Holographic displays floated in the air, showing star charts and data streams in languages he did not recognize. Equipment made from materials that seemed to glow with their own light covered every surface. And there were people inside. At least they looked like people from a distance. Lyra stood near the center of the room talking to two other figures. As Kyle watched, her appearance flickered. For just a moment he saw something else beneath her human form. Her skin looked almost metallic, her eyes glowed with a faint light, and her proportions seemed slightly wrong, as if her human shape was a costume she was wearing. Kyle felt dizzy. His hand slipped on the window frame, making a small scraping sound. It was barely audible, but inside the warehouse every head turned toward the window instantly. They had heard him. Kyle dropped from the pallets and ran. He did not look back. He just ran as fast as he could, his mind spinning with impossible images. Aliens. That warehouse was full of aliens. Lyra was an alien. They were here, on Earth, hiding in plain sight. He made it about 50 yards before something hit him. Not a physical impact. It was like a wave of energy that washed over his body, making his muscles lock up. His legs stopped working and he fell hard onto the cracked pavement. He tried to move but could not. He could not even turn his head. Footsteps approached from behind. Kyle heard Lyra's voice, but it sounded different now. Colder, more mechanical. Subject has been immobilized. Running identification scan. Another voice responded, deeper and with a strange accent. Identity confirmed. Kyle Morrison, age 22, engineering student. No official security clearance. No government connections. This is a civilian discovery. Lyra walked into Kyle's field of vision. Her human disguise was gone now. She looked similar to a human, but wrong in subtle ways. Her skin had a slight sheen to it like polished metal. Her eyes were larger and completely black. She knelt down and looked at Kyle with an expression that might have been pity. I am sorry, she said, and her voice sounded more human now, almost sad. You should not have followed me. You should not have seen this. Kyle tried to speak but could not move his mouth. Lyra seemed to understand his unspoken question. We have been watching your species for a long time, she explained. We are not here to hurt you. We are here to study you, to decide if humans are ready to know about us. But now you have discovered our presence. That changes everything. She spoke into a device on her wrist. Prepare for extraction. We need to take him to the ship. Kyle felt himself being lifted by invisible forces. He floated in the air, still completely paralyzed. They carried him back to the warehouse and through the liquid wall. Inside, the technology surrounded him. He saw screens showing images of Earth from space, maps of cities he recognized, and data about human population and technology. They placed him in some kind of chamber. The walls were transparent, and he could see the entire facility from inside. Lyra stood outside the chamber, watching him with those strange black eyes. The paralysis will wear off soon, she told him. By then, you will be far from Earth. The Council will decide what to do with you. I hope they show mercy. You seem like a good person. Just too curious for your own safety. The chamber started to hum with energy. Kyle felt a strange sensation, like his body was being pulled in multiple directions at once. The warehouse around him began to fade, replaced by darkness filled with stars. He was moving, accelerating faster than should be possible. The last thing Kyle saw before losing consciousness was Earth, shrinking in the distance. A beautiful blue and green sphere, getting smaller and smaller until it was just another point of light among millions. He was leaving home, taken by beings he did not understand, heading to a place he could not imagine. His friends would wonder what happened to him. Danny and Lisa would search for him, file reports, ask questions, but they would never find answers. Kyle Morrison had followed a mysterious woman after class, driven by curiosity and a need to understand the truth. Now he was gone, taken beyond the reach of anyone on Earth. Kyle woke up in a white room. Everything around him was white and smooth like the inside of an egg. There were no visible doors or windows. The walls seemed to glow with their own soft light. For a moment he thought he might be dreaming. Then he tried to sit up and felt the pain in his muscles. The paralysis had worn off, but his body ached from being immobilized. He was lying on a platform that felt like metal, but was somehow warm and comfortable. When he swung his legs over the edge and stood, the floor adjusted beneath his feet, becoming softer where he put weight. Everything about this place was beyond human technology. "Hello?" Kyle called out. His voice sounded flat in the small space absorbed by the walls. A section of wall became transparent, revealing another room beyond. Standing there was a creature that looked almost human but was clearly not. It had pale skin with a blue tint, large eyes that were completely silver, and long fingers with an extra joint. It wore a uniform made of material that seemed to shift colors slowly. "You are awake," the creature said. Its voice was translated somehow, arriving in Kyle's ears as perfect English even though its mouth movements did not match the words. "I am Vex. I am a guard on this vessel. You are aboard the arbitration wing, a prison ship that serves the collective." "A prison ship?" Kyle's heart sank. "Why am I in prison? I did not do anything wrong." "You discovered our presence on your planet," Vex explained. "That is forbidden under collective law. Primitive species are not to know about us until they reach a certain level of development. You broke that law by finding our monitoring station." "But I did not know it was forbidden," Kyle protested. "How could I break a law I never heard of?" Vex tilted his head in a gesture that might have been sympathy. "That is a good question. One that many of us ask about the collective's policies. But I am just a guard. I do not make the rules." The wall became solid again, leaving Kyle alone. He sat back down on the platform, trying to process everything. Aliens were real. They had been watching Earth, and now he was a prisoner on a ship somewhere in space, far from home. Hours passed. Kyle had no way to measure time. There were no clocks, no windows showing day or night. Eventually, a panel in the wall opened and a tray of food appeared. It looked strange. Colorful cubes and liquids in small containers. Kyle was hungry enough to try it. The food tasted bland but edible, like eating flavored air. After eating, the transparent wall appeared again. This time, Vex gestured for Kyle to follow. The wall opened and Kyle stepped through into a corridor. The corridor curved gently, and through transparent sections he could see space outside. Real space filled with stars he did not recognize. Vex led him to a larger room. Inside were other humans. Kyle stopped in shock. There were at least 20 people here, all wearing simple gray clothes like the ones Kyle found himself wearing. They all looked up when he entered. A tall man with short gray hair approached. He had the bearing of a soldier, standing straight and moving with purpose. "New arrival?" he asked. "I am Marcus Webb, former military intelligence, Kyle Morrison, college student." Kyle shook Marcus's hand, grateful to see another human. "What is happening? Why are there so many of us here?" A woman with dark hair and tired eyes joined them. "I am Dr. Sophie Lang. I used to study genetics. All of us found out about the aliens somehow. Some of us tracked their technology. Others noticed impossible patterns in data. One guy just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, like you probably were." "How long have you been here?" Kyle asked. 3 years, Sophie said quietly. 3 years since they took me from my lab." Kyle felt sick. 3 years. His friends would think he was dead by now. His family would have given up hope. A younger man with messy hair and nervous energy approached. "I am Jake. I hacked into something I should not have. Encrypted signals coming from satellites that should not exist. Took me 6 months to realize they were alien communications. Took them about 6 hours to find me after I decoded one message." Over the next few days, Kyle learned about his fellow prisoners. Each one represented the best of humanity in some way. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, hackers, all of them too smart or too curious for their own good. All of them taken because they got too close to the truth. Vex visited Kyle regularly. Unlike the other guards, Vex seemed willing to talk. Slowly, Kyle learned about the collective. It was an alliance of hundreds of alien species spanning thousands of worlds. They had existed for millions of years, maintaining peace and order across the galaxy. "Why monitor Earth?" Kyle asked during one visit. "If you have thousands of worlds, why care about one primitive planet?" Vex was quiet for a moment. "Because humans are different. You develop technology faster than any species we have ever seen. Most races take millions of years to go from simple tools to space travel. Humans did it in a few thousand years. That speed frightens many in the collective. Why would that frighten anyone? Kyle asked. Imagine a child who grows up in 1 year instead of 20, Vex explained. They would have adult strength without adult wisdom. That is how the collective sees humanity. You gain power too quickly to use it responsibly. Some members want to help guide you. Others want to stop your development before you become dangerous. The words chilled Kyle. Stop our development? How? Vex would not answer that question. But Kyle could imagine the possibilities. Sabotaging human technology, causing disasters to set civilization back. Maybe even something worse. One day, all the human prisoners were brought together in a large chamber. At the far end was a massive screen showing an assembly of alien beings. Hundreds of different species all gathered in what looked like a council chamber. A voice boomed through the room, translated into English. The Council of the Collective will now discuss the matter of Earth and its inhabitants. Recent events have compromised our monitoring program. We must decide humanity's fate. Kyle watched as different aliens spoke. Some argued for immediate contact with Earth, offering to guide human development. Others wanted to increase surveillance and keep humanity isolated for centuries more. A few spoke about containment, suggesting that humanity's technology should be limited by force if necessary. They are talking about us like we are animals, Jake muttered beside Kyle. Marcus crossed his arms. They are talking about Earth like it is their property, like they have the right to decide our future. Something snapped inside Kyle. He had been quiet since his capture, trying to understand the situation, trying to survive. But listening to these aliens debate whether humanity deserved freedom made him angry. This is wrong, Kyle said loudly. The council chamber fell silent. Every alien on the screen turned to look at the human prisoners. You have no right to decide Earth's fate without asking Earth what it wants, Kyle continued. You talk about justice and peace, but you kidnapped us. You have been watching our planet for centuries without permission. You treat us like children who cannot make our own choices. Is that what your collective stands for? An alien that looked like it was made of crystal spoke. You are young. You do not understand the complexities of galactic civilization. Maybe we are young, Kyle shot back, but we are not stupid. We know when we are being treated unfairly. You say humans are dangerous because we develop quickly, but maybe you are afraid of us because we will not just accept your rules without question. The council erupted in arguments. Some aliens seemed impressed by Kyle's words. Others appeared angry. The crystal being raised a limb for silence. The human makes valid points, it said. Perhaps we have become too comfortable in our authority. We will adjourn to discuss this matter further. The screen went dark. Guards led the human prisoners back to their cells. But something had changed. Kyle saw it in the faces of his fellow prisoners. Hope. For the first time since their capture, they had a voice. That night, Vex came to Kyle's cell. The alien guard looked around carefully before speaking. What you said today was brave, Vex said quietly. Also very dangerous. You made some council members reconsider their position, but you also made others more determined to control humanity. I had to speak up, Kyle replied. What they were planning is wrong. I agree, Vex said, surprising Kyle. That is why I am going to help you escape. There are others in the collective who believe humans deserve a chance. We have been planning this for some time. Your arrival and your words have convinced us to act now. Kyle's heart raced. Escape? How? This is a prison ship in the middle of space. That is exactly why they will not expect it, Vex said. I will provide you with the tools you need. But you and the other humans must do the rest, and when you escape, you must return to Earth. You must warn your people. The collective will make contact soon. Whether humanity is ready or not, your people need time to prepare. Why are you doing this? Kyle asked. You will get in trouble for helping us. Vex's silver eyes reflected the dim light of the cell. Because it is the right thing to do. My species values honesty above all else. The collective's treatment of Earth is dishonest. We claim to value all sentient life, but we treat humans like subjects to be studied and controlled. That hypocrisy shames me. Kyle felt a surge of gratitude. In this alien prison, far from home, he had found an unexpected ally. Thank you, he said simply. Kyle gathered the human prisoners in the common area. Marcus stood beside him, his military experience showing in how he carried himself. Sophie and Jake listened intently as Kyle explained Vex's offer. An escape, Marcus said thoughtfully, from a prison ship designed to hold hundreds of different alien species with various abilities. That is quite a challenge. It sounds impossible, Sophie added, but staying here forever also is not an option. At least this gives us a chance, Jake grinned nervously. I have broken into some secure systems before, but I have never tried to hack alien technology. This will be interesting. Over the next 3 days, Vex smuggled tools and information to the humans, a small device that could disrupt the cell locks. Schematics of the ship's layout, information about guard patrol patterns. Most importantly, he provided access codes to a hangar bay where a fast courier ship was docked. Kyle studied the ship's propulsion system through the transparent walls of his cell. He had spent years studying quantum mechanics and engine design. This alien technology was far more advanced, but the basic principles were similar. He thought he could fly it if they could reach it. The key is coordination, Marcus explained to the group. We move as one unit. Stay together, watch each other's backs. We cannot afford to leave anyone behind. Sophie had been studying the food dispensers. I can create a chemical mixture from the food compounds. It will not hurt anyone, but it will confuse the insectoid guards. They rely heavily on scent for communication. Jake worked on building a makeshift computer from components Vex smuggled in. Give me access to any terminal and I can cause chaos in their systems. Buy us time to reach the hangar. The night of the escape arrived. Kyle felt his heart pounding as he lay on his platform, pretending to sleep. Around the ship, the other human prisoners waited for the signal. Everything had to happen at once or they would fail. At exactly midnight ship time, Vex sent the signal. A maintenance drone that Kyle had reprogrammed activated, sending out electromagnetic pulses that jammed nearby security sensors. In 23 cells throughout the ship, locks clicked open simultaneously. Kyle stepped out of his cell for the first time in weeks. The corridor was empty, but alarms would sound soon. He ran toward the meeting point where other humans emerged from their cells like ghosts. Move, Marcus commanded, taking point. He had memorized the ship's layout perfectly. They ran through corridors, their footsteps echoing off the metal walls. The first alarm sounded. Red lights flashed throughout the ship. They had maybe 5 minutes before guards would flood the corridors. They reached the first checkpoint. A heavily armored door blocked their path. Jake pulled out the device Vex had provided and plugged it into a control panel. His fingers flew over the makeshift interface. Come on, Jake muttered. The door remained closed. Behind them, they could hear guards approaching. 30 seconds, Marcus warned, readying himself for a fight. The door suddenly slid open. Got it, Jake shouted. They rushed through just as alien guards rounded the corner behind them. Energy weapons fired, but the humans were already through. The door sealed behind them, buying precious seconds. The next corridor led to the ship's main security hub. Sophie threw her chemical mixture ahead of them. The air filled with a strange smell. When the insectoid guards ahead caught the scent, they became confused, clicking and chirping to each other in distress. The humans ran past while the guards were disoriented. But other species of guards were responding now. A large reptilian creature blocked their path, holding a weapon that crackled with energy. Marcus did not hesitate. He grabbed a piece of debris from the floor and threw it at the guard's face. While the creature was distracted, Marcus rushed forward and swept its legs. The guard fell hard and the humans jumped over it. Continuing their desperate run. Hangar bay, next level down, Kyle shouted, checking the mental map he had memorized. They found a vertical transport shaft. Instead of waiting for a platform, Marcus simply jumped down, grabbing onto the service ladder on the wall. The others followed. They dropped from one level to another, their hands burning from the friction. Above them, guards poured into the shaft. Energy blasts lit up the darkness. One blast hit a prisoner named Carlos in the shoulder. He cried out but kept climbing down. They could not stop, not now. They reached the hangar level and forced open the hatch. The hangar bay stretched before them, filled with various spacecraft. In the center, just as Vex had promised, sat a sleek courier ship. There, Kyle pointed. They ran across the open hangar floor. Behind them, guards emerged from multiple entrances. The air filled with energy weapons fire. A woman named Amy went down, hit in the back. Marcus grabbed her and dragged her forward, refusing to leave her behind. Another prisoner, an older man named George, took a hit that should have been fatal. He fell and did not get up. Kyle reached the courier ship first. He pressed his hand against the access panel, praying that Vex's codes would work. The panel glowed green and the boarding ramp lowered. "Get inside," Kyle yelled. The surviving humans rushed up the ramp. Marcus carried Amy, who was barely conscious. Sophie helped Carlos, whose shoulder wound was bleeding badly. Kyle was the last one up the ramp. He looked back and saw George's body lying on the hangar floor. 3 other prisoners had not made it. The cost of freedom was higher than he had hoped. The ramp sealed shut just as guards reached it. Kyle ran to the pilot's seat and started activating systems. The controls were alien but logical. His hands flew over the interface, bringing engines online. "Strap in," Kyle commanded. Behind them, guards were trying to override the ship's doors. The engines roared to life. Kyle engaged the thrusters and the ship lifted off the hangar floor. The hangar's main doors were closed, but Kyle had learned that humans excel at improvisation. He aimed the ship directly at the thinnest section of the door and increased power to maximum. "Hold on to something," he shouted. The ship hit the hangar door at full speed. The impact threw everyone forward against their restraints. Metal shrieked. Sparks flew. For a horrible moment, Kyle thought they were stuck. Then the door buckled and tore and they burst through into open space. Alarms blared inside the ship. Kyle checked the damage readouts. The hull was compromised in several places, but the ship was still functional. Behind them, the massive prison ship was already turning, preparing to pursue. "Jake, can you disable their tracking systems?" Kyle asked. Jake was already at a computer terminal. "Working on it. Their security is tough, but I am tougher." Kyle studied the navigation systems. Earth was far away, weeks of travel even at faster than light speeds. But he had to get them home. He entered coordinates and engaged the FTL drive. The ship lurched as reality bent around them. Stars stretched into lines. The prison ship launched pursuit vessels, but Kyle had a head start. He pushed the courier ship beyond its safety limits using techniques human pilots had developed for dangerous maneuvers. "Got it," Jake announced. "Their tracking is scrambled. They will have a hard time following us." Sophie was treating the wounded in the back. "Amy is stable," she called out. "Carlos will be fine, but we need proper medical supplies soon." Kyle checked their supplies. Vex had stocked the ship well. Food, water, medical equipment, and something else. A data storage device with detailed information about the collective. "Vex left us something," Kyle said, holding up the device. "Information about the aliens. Everything Earth needs to know." Marcus came forward from checking on the other survivors. "How many did we lose?" Kyle's throat tightened. 4 did not make it. George, Maria, Chen, and David. The survivors fell silent, mourning their fallen companions. These people had become like family during their imprisonment. Losing them hurt deeply. "They did not die for nothing," Marcus said firmly. "We are going home. We are going to warn Earth. Their sacrifice will mean something." Kyle set the autopilot and turned to face his fellow escapees. 19 humans, battered and exhausted but free. They had done something the collective thought impossible. They had escaped from the most secure prison ship in the galaxy. "What we did back there," Kyle said. "That is what humans can do when we work together. We outsmarted their security. We fought past their guards. We flew through a closed hangar door because we refused to give up. That is humanity's strength," Sophie smiled weakly. "The collective is afraid of how fast we develop. After today, I think I understand why." "We have weeks of travel ahead," Jake said. "What happens when we reach Earth?" "We tell everyone the truth," Kyle replied. "We show them this data Vex gave us. We prove aliens exist and that they have been watching us. Then we help Earth prepare for what is coming." "They will think we are crazy," Sophie pointed out. "We have an alien spacecraft," Kyle said. "That is pretty good proof." Marcus checked the ship's weapon systems. "The collective will not give up. They will send ships after us. They might even reach Earth before we do." "Then we need to fly faster," Kyle said. He returned to the pilot's seat and studied the propulsion systems. There were safety limits built into the ship's programming. Limits meant to protect the vessel and crew. Kyle started overriding them. "What are you doing?" Jake asked nervously. "Humans are good at pushing things beyond their limits," Kyle explained. "This ship can go faster than its designers intended. It will be rough, but we will cut to." 3 weeks of desperate flight through space had taken their toll. The courier ship was falling apart around them. Warning lights flashed constantly on the control panels. The hull had developed new cracks, but ahead, through the viewport, Kyle could finally see it. Earth. The beautiful blue and green planet hung in space like a jewel. Kyle felt tears running down his face. He was home. They had made it. Approaching Earth orbit, Kyle announced. The other survivors gathered around, staring at their home world. Many were crying. Sophie squeezed Kyle's shoulder, unable to speak. Now comes the hard part, Marcus said. Convincing everyone we are telling the truth. Kyle opened communication channels, broadcasting on all frequencies. Military, civilian, emergency bands. Every channel he could find. This is Kyle Morrison broadcasting to Earth. We are humans returning from alien captivity. We have urgent information about an extraterrestrial civilization called the Collective. They have been monitoring Earth for centuries. They are coming, and we have very little time to prepare. Please, someone respond. Silence. Then static. Finally, a voice crackled through the speakers. Unknown vessel, this is North American Air Defense Command. You are operating an unregistered craft in controlled airspace. Identify yourself immediately. Kyle took a deep breath. I am Kyle Morrison. I was a student at New Seattle Technical Institute. I disappeared 6 months ago. Check your records. I am in an alien spacecraft with 18 other humans who were taken by extraterrestrial beings. We need to speak with someone in authority immediately. There was a long pause. Kyle could imagine the confusion on the other end. Then multiple voices started talking at once on different channels. Military commands, government agencies, news networks that had intercepted the transmission. Within an hour, military jets surrounded the courier ship. They escorted it to a secure landing site in the Nevada desert. As the ship touched down, Kyle saw dozens of vehicles surrounding them. Soldiers, scientists, government officials, everyone wanted to know what was happening. The boarding ramp lowered. Kyle stepped out first, his legs shaky after weeks in space. The desert sun was blinding after the dim light of the ship. Armed soldiers pointed weapons at him until someone in uniform shouted to lower them. A woman in a military uniform approached. She had gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. I am General Patricia Clark. You claim to be Kyle Morrison? I am Kyle Morrison, he confirmed. And we do not have time for long explanations. The Collective knows we escaped. They might already be on their way here. Earth needs to prepare for contact. The next few days were chaos. Kyle and the other survivors were questioned constantly. Government officials, military intelligence, scientists, everyone wanted to hear their story. Many did not believe them at first. Then Kyle showed them the alien spacecraft. He showed them the data device Vex had provided, filled with information about the Collective. He gave them coordinates to the monitoring stations hidden on Earth. When military teams investigated those coordinates, they found exactly what Kyle described. Abandoned facilities full of technology that could not possibly be human, equipment for observing and recording human activity, proof that Earth had been watched for a very long time. The world erupted. News of alien life spread across every network. People reacted with fear, excitement, denial. Some religious leaders called it a hoax. Scientists demanded access to the alien technology. Governments argued about how to respond. Kyle watched it all from a secure facility where they were keeping the survivors. He felt frustrated. People were wasting time arguing when they should be preparing. Finally, they brought him before a joint meeting of world leaders. Representatives from dozens of countries filled a large conference room. Kyle stood at the front with General Clark beside him. Tell them what you told me, General Clark said. Kyle looked at the assembled leaders. The Collective is coming. They have been debating what to do about Earth for a long time. Our escape forced their hand. They will make official contact soon. When they do, they will want to control humanity's development, restrict our technology, limit our expansion into space. They are afraid of how fast humans advance. A European leader raised his hand. Why should we resist? If they are more advanced, perhaps we should accept their guidance. Because it is not guidance, Kyle replied. It is control. They took humans prisoner for discovering their presence. They debated destroying our civilization to prevent us from becoming a threat. Do you want to live under rulers who see us as dangerous animals that need to be caged? What do you suggest we do? Asked an Asian representative. Kyle took a deep breath. Share everything. All the data from the Collective. Share it with every scientist on Earth. Let them study the alien technology. Let them learn how to build defenses. I know it goes against every instinct about national security. But we do not have time for secrets. Humanity needs to unite and prepare together or we will fall separately. The room erupted in arguments. Some leaders agreed. Others refused to share advanced technology with rival nations. Kyle felt his frustration growing. General Clark silenced the room with a sharp command. Listen to him. He has seen what we are facing. I have examined the alien data. If even half of what it says is true, no single nation can stand against the collective. We either work together or we lose everything. Slowly, reluctantly, the leaders began to agree. They formed committees, shared resources, opened communication channels that had been closed for decades. The threat from above forced Earth's nations to cooperate in ways they never had before. Kyle worked with scientists from around the world. Sophie helped them understand alien biological systems. Jake showed programmers how alien computers operated. Marcus trained military forces in tactics that might work against advanced opponents. Months passed. Earth transformed at an incredible speed. Scientists reverse-engineered alien technology, creating defensive systems that could detect and track spacecraft. Engineers built weapons based on principles they learned from the data. Humanity's entire space program shifted focus, preparing for the moment when the collective arrived. Kyle barely slept. He knew time was running out. Every day he expected to see alien ships appearing in Earth's orbit. The pressure was enormous. Sometimes he woke from nightmares about the prison ship, about the people who had died during the escape. One evening, Danny and Lisa found him. Kyle had not seen his old friends since returning to Earth. They had been searching for him, and the government finally allowed them to visit. Kyle, Lisa said, tears in her eyes. She hugged him tightly. We thought you were dead. Danny looked older, tired. We searched everywhere, filed police reports. Your family had a memorial service. And now you are back, but you are different. Kyle tried to smile, but could not. I am sorry. I never meant to worry you. I just had to know the truth about Lyra. That curiosity cost me everything. It gave Earth a warning, Lisa said gently. The news says you are a hero. I do not feel like a hero, Kyle replied. 4 people died helping us escape, and I'm terrified that everything we are doing will not be enough. Danny put a hand on his shoulder. You are doing everything you can. That is all anyone can ask. They talked for hours. Kyle told them everything about his captivity, the escape, the journey home. It felt good to talk to people who knew him before all of this started. People who saw him as just Kyle, not as humanity's warning system. But that night could not last forever. In the morning, Kyle returned to his work. Earth's defense grid was nearly complete. Satellites equipped with sensors that could detect faster than light travel orbited the planet. Weapon systems waited in space, ready to defend humanity's home. Kyle worked with Sophie on one final project. They were preparing a demonstration for when the collective arrived, something that would prove humanity was worth respecting. The key is showing them we can innovate, Sophie explained. They fear us because we develop quickly. We need to show them that is not a weakness. It is our greatest strength. Kyle had been studying the collective's faster-than-light technology. He understood the basic principles now, and he thought he saw a way to improve it, something the aliens had missed because they always followed established rules. What if we use quantum uncertainty differently? Kyle suggested to a team of physicists. Instead of trying to eliminate it, what if we use it to reduce energy requirements? The scientists looked skeptical, but they ran the calculations. The math worked. It should not have worked. It violated several principles that alien science considered absolute. But humans had always been good at finding new rules when old ones did not fit. They built a prototype. A small device that could generate a faster-than-light field using 60% less energy than the alien version. It was revolutionary. If it worked on a large scale, it would change everything about space travel. 6 months after Kyle's return to Earth, the moment finally came. Alarms sounded across the planet. Sensors detected massive objects entering the solar system. Ships, dozens of them. The collective had arrived. Kyle stood in the command center with General Clark and other leaders. On screens around them, they could see the alien fleet. Warships surrounded by smaller vessels. The formation was both beautiful and terrifying. They are not hiding anymore, Marcus observed. This is a show of force. Ambassador Krell's crystal form shifted colors as it considered Kyle's proposal. Around the command center, human leaders held their breath. Everything depended on the collective's response. You wish to prove your worth? The ambassador asked. An interesting concept. The collective has existed for millions of years. We have seen countless civilizations rise and fall. What could a species as young as yours possibly offer us? Kyle felt his heart pounding but kept his voice steady. We offer a fresh perspective. You have millions of years of experience, but that also means millions of years of established thinking. Humans look at problems differently because we have not learned to say something is impossible yet. The ambassador was silent for a moment. You speak boldly for someone whose planet could be easily destroyed, but I find your confidence intriguing. Very well, we will accept your challenge. Present your proof that humanity deserves a place in the collective. Over the next 3 days, representatives from the collective came to Earth. Beings from dozens of species filled a specially prepared facility. Some looked almost human. Others were so alien that humans struggled to understand how they perceived reality. The collective proposed a series of challenges. Tests of engineering, science, strategy, and culture. They would send their best teams to compete against humanity's best. If humans failed, Earth would accept collective oversight for 500 years. If humans succeeded, the collective would offer full membership as equal partners. The first challenge was engineering. Each team received the same raw materials and 72 hours to build a functional spacecraft. The collective teams had centuries of training in optimal design principles. They worked efficiently, following proven methods that had been refined over millions of years. Kyle led the human team along with engineers from 12 different countries. They looked at the materials and immediately started arguing about the best approach. To the alien observers, the humans seemed chaotic and disorganized. We do not have time to follow standard designs, Kyle said. Let's try something new. Something unstable that should not work but might work anyway. They built a ship that looked wrong. It was asymmetrical, with components placed in locations that violated every design principle the collective used. When they activated it, half the alien observers expected it to explode. Instead, it flew, not just flew, but outperformed the collective ships in speed and maneuverability. The judges were stunned. The human design should not have worked, but it did because humans had not learned what was supposed to be impossible. The next challenge was strategy. Human military leaders faced off against collective strategists in complex simulations. The aliens had battle tactics refined over countless wars. They followed doctrines that had proven effective for millennia. Marcus led the human team. He studied the collective tactics for exactly 10 minutes before throwing out everything he learned. They think we will try to copy their methods, Marcus explained to his team. So we do the opposite. We be unpredictable. We change our strategy every few minutes. We make moves that look like mistakes but create opportunities. The simulation began. The collective team executed perfect formations and textbook maneuvers. The human team seemed to have no plan at all. They attacked from unexpected angles, retreated when they should have advanced, split their forces in ways that violated basic military doctrine. The collective commanders could not predict what the humans would do next because the humans kept changing their approach. Eventually, the constant adaptation overwhelmed the aliens' carefully planned strategy. The humans won through creative chaos. The third challenge was scientific. Researchers had to solve a problem that had puzzled the collective for generations. Faster-than-light travel required massive amounts of energy and only worked along specific routes through space. Sophie and Kyle worked together with scientists from around the world. They studied the collective's approach for days, learning the established theory. Then they started asking questions the aliens had never considered. Why do they treat quantum uncertainty as an obstacle? Sophie wondered. What if it is actually a tool? Kyle built on her idea. What if instead of trying to create perfect stability, we use controlled instability? Let the quantum fields fluctuate in specific patterns. It went against everything the collective knew about physics. Their scientists had spent millions of years perfecting stability in faster-than-light fields. The human approach seemed backwards, but when they tested it, the results shocked everyone. Energy requirements dropped by 60%. New travel routes opened up that had been considered impossible. The human team had revolutionized galactic transportation by refusing to accept that the old way was the only way. The cultural challenge came next. Each civilization had to present their art, music, and philosophy to judges from species with completely different sensory systems and ways of thinking. The collective entries were beautiful and refined, perfected over countless generations. Then the humans presented their offerings, music that broke traditional rules of harmony, art that challenged observers to find meaning in apparent chaos. Stories about individuals who changed their worlds through determination and innovation. Many alien judges did not understand it at first, but something about human creativity moved them anyway. Even species that perceived reality completely differently from humans could feel the emotion and passion in human culture. It was raw and unrefined compared to ancient alien art, but it had an energy that millions of years of refinement had smoothed away. After all the challenges concluded, the collective council assembled to discuss the results. Kyle and the other human representatives waited nervously. They had won several challenges and performed surprisingly well in others. But was it enough? Ambassador Krell appeared on the screen again, its crystalline form glowing with inner light. The council has deliberated. We have reached a decision about humanity's place in the collective. Kyle held his breath. Around him, everyone in the command center was silent. You have demonstrated abilities we did not expect, the ambassador continued. Your engineering is unconventional but effective. Your tactics are chaotic but successful. Your science questions assumptions we considered absolute. Your culture is young but vibrant. However, Krell said, and Kyle's heart sank, there is significant opposition within the council. Many members fear that humanity's rapid development and unpredictable nature pose risks to galactic stability. A different alien appeared on screen, one that looked like it was made of living metal. I am Counselor Vex. Some of you may remember me, Kyle gasped. It was the guard who had helped them escape. Somehow Vex had not only survived but had become a counselor. I helped these humans escape, Vex said to the entire council, visible on screens behind him. I broke our laws because I believed they deserved a chance. After witnessing what they have accomplished in such a short time, I am more convinced than ever. Yes, humans are unpredictable. Yes, they challenge established rules, but that is exactly what the collective needs. Vex turned to face the human representatives. We have become too comfortable, too certain that our ancient ways are the only correct ways. Humanity reminds us that innovation requires risk. Progress requires questioning the unquestionable. I vote for full membership. Other council members spoke. Some argued for restrictions. Others supported full acceptance. The debate raged for hours, broadcast across the entire galaxy. Billions of beings watched as the question of humanity's fate was decided. Finally, Ambassador Krell called for a vote. The results appeared on screens throughout the collective. It was close. Closer than any similar vote in recorded history. But the decision was made. By a narrow majority, Krell announced, the collective accepts humanity as provisional members. You will have full rights and representation. However, you must demonstrate continued cooperation and innovation. You will be evaluated in 10 years. If you prove yourselves worthy, full permanent membership will be granted. The command center erupted in cheers. People hugged each other, crying with relief and joy. They had done it. Against impossible odds, humanity had earned a place among the stars. Kyle felt Marcus clap him on the back. Sophie was crying and laughing at the same time. Jake pumped his fist in the air. General Clark smiled, something Kyle had never seen her do before. But Kyle also thought about the 4 people who had died during the escape. George, Maria, Chen, and David. They would never see this moment. Their sacrifice had made it possible. We did it, Sophie said, still crying. We actually did it. No, Kyle replied quietly. We all did it. Everyone who was taken. Everyone who fought. Everyone who believed Earth deserved a chance. This victory belongs to all of humanity. Outside, the collective warships that had seemed so threatening now moved into protective positions around Earth. They were no longer guards keeping humanity contained. They were escorts welcoming a new member to the galactic community. Ambassador Krell requested a private communication with Kyle. When the others left the room, the crystalline being spoke more personally. You should know something, Krell said. The vote was close because many species fear change. Your kind represents massive change. You develop in decades what takes others millennia. You question everything. 10 years had passed since the collective accepted humanity as provisional members. Earth had transformed in ways Kyle could hardly believe. Cities reached toward the sky using materials stronger than steel but lighter than aluminum. Ships capable of crossing the galaxy departed from orbital stations every day. Children born after first contact grew up learning about hundreds of alien species as naturally as learning about different countries on Earth. Kyle stood in the observation deck of Earth's main ambassadorial station, watching traffic move through space. Vessels from dozens of worlds came and went. Human ships mixed with alien ones in a dance of cooperation that would have seemed impossible a decade ago. Hard to believe it has been 10 years, Sophie said, joining him at the window. She now served as Earth's chief representative for biological sciences, helping coordinate research between human and alien scientists. Sometimes it feels like yesterday, Kyle replied. Sometimes it feels like a lifetime ago. They had all changed so much. Marcus commanded a security force made up of humans and aliens, working together to protect developing civilizations. Jake ran the largest information network in the galaxy, ensuring transparency and preventing the kind of secret monitoring that had nearly destroyed Earth. Danny and Lisa both worked in the integration program, helping newly contacted species navigate the complex politics of galactic civilization. Kyle himself led a research initiative focused on sustainable expansion. The controlled uncertainty principle he had discovered was now standard technology throughout the collective. Human innovations had revolutionized multiple fields, proving that the fresh perspective of a young species could benefit even ancient civilizations. But not everything had been easy. There had been conflicts. Some alien species resented humanity's rapid rise to prominence. Others tried to take advantage of human inexperience in galactic politics. Earth had made mistakes, learned hard lessons, and adapted. That was what humans did best. The door to the observation deck opened, and someone Kyle had not seen in years walked in. Lyra. She still wore a human form, though Kyle could see past the disguise now. Her real appearance flickered occasionally, showing the being beneath. "Hello, Kyle," she said. "It has been a long time." "Lyra," Kyle replied, surprised. "I did not expect to see you again." Sophie excused herself, giving them privacy. Lyra came to stand beside Kyle at the window. "I came to apologize," Lyra said, "for my role in your abduction, for the fear and pain you experienced. I was following orders, but that does not excuse what happened to you." Kyle was quiet for a moment, thinking about that night so long ago when he followed her to the warehouse. "I spent a lot of time being angry about what happened, but I have realized something. If you had not taken me, none of this would exist. Earth would still be isolated. Humans would not know about the galaxy. Sometimes terrible things lead to necessary changes." "That is a wise way to see it," Lyra said. "But wisdom does not erase harm. I am still sorry." "I accept your apology," Kyle replied, "and I want you to know something. There were members of the collective like you and Vex who believed humans deserved a chance. You could not act openly until circumstances forced it, but when the moment came, you helped us. That matters." Lyra's form flickered, showing emotion in a way Kyle now understood. "I have a proposal for you. The integration committee needs someone who understands both human and alien perspectives, someone who has experienced both sides of first contact. Would you be interested in working with us? Helping other species understand humans and helping humans understand the broader galaxy?" Kyle considered the offer. It would mean traveling across the galaxy, meeting new civilizations, preventing other species from experiencing the fear and confusion Earth had faced. It felt like the right next step. "I accept," Kyle said, "on one condition. We make sure what happened to me never happens to anyone else. No more secret monitoring. No more taking people without explanation. If the collective believes in justice, we need to prove it through our actions." "Agreed," Lyra said. "The monitoring programs have been shut down. New first contact protocols emphasize openness and respect. You helped create those changes, Kyle. Now you can help ensure they are followed." That evening, Kyle attended a memorial service. Every year, on the anniversary of the escape, the survivors gathered to remember those who had not made it. George, Maria, Chen, and David. Their names were inscribed on a monument that stood in the center of the ambassadorial station. Marcus gave a speech, as he did every year. They gave their lives so humanity could be free. They died fighting for a chance to warn Earth, to prepare our people for the challenges ahead. We honor them by living well, by making the most of the opportunity their sacrifice created. Kyle placed a flower at the base of the monument. He thought about George, the older man who had helped him understand what it meant to lose everything and still keep fighting. He thought about the others, their faces still clear in his memory. "I wish you could see what we built," Kyle said quietly. "I wish you could see Earth now. You would be proud. After the memorial, Kyle returned to Earth one more time. He wanted to visit the place where everything started. New Seattle Technical Institute had grown significantly. The campus now hosted students from Earth and more than 20 other worlds. Humans and aliens studied together, learning from each other. Kyle walked to the lecture hall where he had first noticed Lyra. It looked different now, modernized with technology from across the galaxy. But it was still recognizable. He sat in the same seat he had occupied 10 years ago and remembered that day. A student approached him. She looked nervous. "Excuse me, are you Kyle Morrison?" "I am," Kyle confirmed. "I am writing a paper about first contact," the student said. "About the people who made it possible. Could I ask you a few questions?" Kyle smiled. "Of course. What do you want to know?" "Everyone talks about the challenges with the collective," the student said. "About the demonstrations and the vote. But what I want to know is simpler. Why did you follow her that day? What made you curious enough to risk everything?" Kyle thought about the question. "I saw something that did not make sense. I could have ignored it, gone on with my normal life. But I needed to understand. That curiosity, that need to know the truth even when it is dangerous, that is what makes us human. We cannot help ourselves. We see a mystery and we have to solve it." The student nodded, recording his words. "Do you regret it?" "Following her, I mean. You were captured, imprisoned. You lost years of your life." "I do not regret it," Kyle said after a moment. "It was terrible. It was frightening. People died, but it also opened the door for humanity to join the galactic community. Sometimes great changes require great sacrifices. I just wish fewer people had to pay that price." After the student left, Kyle sat alone in the lecture hall. He could see his younger self sitting in the same seat watching Lyra, wondering what was wrong about her. That Kyle had no idea what his curiosity would lead to. No idea that his simple decision to follow someone after class would change the entire future of humanity. His phone buzzed. A message from Danny. "We are all meeting for dinner tonight. Lisa insists you come." No excuses, Kyle smiled. Despite everything that had happened, despite how much they had all changed, some things remained constant. His friends were still his friends. They had supported him through the hardest times. They deserved to celebrate the good times together. That night, Kyle met his friends at a restaurant that served food from 12 different worlds. They talked and laughed, sharing stories about their work. Danny told jokes that were still terrible. Lisa showed pictures from her recent trip to an alien colony. Marcus discussed training programs. Sophie explained a breakthrough in cross-species medicine. "Remember when our biggest worry was passing physics class?" Lisa said, smiling. "Simpler times," Danny agreed. "Before Kyle decided to track mysterious women and get us all involved in galactic politics." "I did not get you involved," Kyle protested. "You got involved on your own." "We could not let you handle it alone," Lisa said. "You would have messed it up somehow." They all laughed. It felt good to laugh, to be with people who knew him before everything changed. They understood what he had lost and what he had gained. Later, walking back through the city, Kyle looked up at the night sky. He could see spacecraft moving among the stars, their lights creating new constellations. Earth's sky would never look the same as it had before first contact, but that was okay. Change was necessary for growth. Tomorrow, Kyle would begin his new work with Lyra and the Integration Committee. He would travel to new worlds, meet new species, help bridge the gap between different civilizations. It would be challenging, maybe even dangerous at times, but it was important work. He thought about the title people had given to his story. He tracked her after class, and his friends never saw him again. It was true in a way. His friends never saw the same Kyle Morrison who had been in that physics lecture 10 years ago. That person was gone, transformed by experiences that would have been unimaginable to his younger self. But maybe that was the point. People were not meant to stay the same forever. Growth required change. Understanding required curiosity. Progress required taking risks even when they were frightening.